Hola mi gente, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sean and this is We Are Investing, a channel that's dedicated in investing and personal finance. What I want to provide to you all on today's video is we're going to do a deep dive into options Greeks. We're going to talk about what they are, what their impacts are to your position, and how to use them moving forward. We're not going to waste any time. I'm going to try to provide you guys as much information as I can in the quickest amount of time that I can. So to start the video, we're going to do a quick explanation of the major Greeks. Then the second half of this video, we'll actually dive into some options chain, take a look at some of these values, and dive even deeper. But to get started, we need to build that foundation of knowledge, or at least a high level of knowledge when it comes to Greeks. So let's proceed. The first major Greek that you're going to need to know is delta. This is probably going to have the biggest impact on your position moving forward. It is one that you're going to want to look at for sure. Now, what is delta? Well, delta is essentially the amount that the premium is going to increase or decrease with a $1 increase or decrease in the underlying. So let's say that you bought options for AMD and delta is 50 cents. If AMD was to go up $1, then the option that you hold is going to go up 50 cents. So if you paid $1 for that options contract, that option contract is now going to be worth $1.50. If AMD was to drop $1, well, that $1 options contract would go down to 50 cents. So essentially, delta is the increase or decrease in your options premium for a $1 increase or decrease in the underlying. A quick way to remember that, and an easy way to remember that, is that delta starts with D. D corresponds to dollar. So for every dollar increase or decrease, your option is going to increase or decrease by delta. And as you can imagine, that's going to have the biggest impact on your options premium. It's going to hold the most weight, but the other Greeks are also going to impact your options price. The next one on the list that a lot of people talk about and is also very, very important is Theta. Theta corresponds to the decrease in your options premium for every day. As you get closer to expiration, Theta is going to increase as well if your position is out of the money. Theta is always going to decrease your position. It's never going to increase your position. Theta is always going to be negative. So let's say that Theta is 0.02 or 2 cents and you bought that AMD option at $1 and it has 2 weeks left to expiration. Well, just by holding that contract, you are going to lose 2 cents because of Theta. And as you get closer to expiration, depending on if your position is in the money or out of the money, Theta is going to increase. So let's just say the next day, Theta increases to 0.025. So now you're going to lose 2.5 cents for that position. And the day after that, it's 3 cents. And it can continue to go higher and higher. An easy way to remember what Theta stands for is that it starts with the letter T. T equals time. So Theta is time decay. It's the amount that your option premium is going to decrease every single day just because of time. Options that are further out in expiration that don't expire for quite some time are going to have less Theta, meaning that they're going to decrease less every single day because there's still a lot of time left on that options contract. The next Greek on the list is gamma. Gamma is the increase or decrease in delta with a $1 increase or decrease in the underlying. So let's go back to our original example where delta was 50 cents. When AMD went up $1, then your options premium is going to go up 50 cents because that's what delta is. But gamma is going to increase or decrease delta based on a $1 increase or decrease in the underlying. So let's say that AMD did go up $1 and you got that 50-cent increase in your premium because of delta. But gamma was 10 cents. So now the next increase in AMD, you're going to see a 60-cent increase in the option premium because gamma is 10 cents and gamma is how much delta is going to increase or decrease with a $1 increase or decrease in the underlying. And if you are holding a call option, as the stock increases, your delta is going to increase as well because gamma is going to be positive. Now, the last Greek that we want to quickly define is Vega. Vega is basically how much your options premium is going to increase or decrease with a 1% move in implied volatility. So if implied volatility for your option goes up 1%, then your options premium is going to increase by Vega. If implied volatility was to decrease by 1%, then your options premium are going to drop by Vega. So if Vega is 25 cents and you have a 1% increase in implied volatility, well, then that 50-cent option is going to be worth 75 cents. On the flip side, if you have a 1% decrease, that 50-cent option is now going to be worth 25 cents. Vega is easy to remember because Vega starts with V and you can correspond V to volatility, and Vega is just the increase or decrease in your options premium corresponding to a 1% increase or decrease in implied volatility for that option. Those are the four major Greeks when it comes to options trading. It's important to know them because they can have huge impacts on how much money you make or lose. We're going to go over some examples of how these Greeks can impact you positively or negatively, and why it's important to know what they are and what impacts they have on your position. Now we're going to hop on over to Webull. Webull charges $0 in commissions for options trading, and right now it's running a promotion where if you sign up, you will get 10 free stocks. A link will be provided down below in the video description for that referral link so that you can get 10 free stocks and get free money. Now, I'm filming this video on Sunday, March 27th, and tomorrow the House in the afternoon is going to vote on legislation that could potentially legalize marijuana. So as you can imagine, SNDL, being a very popular weed stock, has a lot of implied volatility because of that expected news. Now, whether the stock is going to move a lot off of that news is undetermined. And a lot of cases, you can get good news, but it's a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event, or we can get bad news. Either way, after that news is done, there's not a lot that will then move the stock after that in this short time. What's the next catalyst going to be? So what typically happens following a news event is you see a huge decrease in implied volatility. And that's when you can get what's called an IV crush. So if we take a look at implied volatility for the call option that expires this Friday, and let's just take a look at the $1 strike, which is out of the money, that has an implied volatility of 335%. What could happen is implied volatility could drop to 50% following this news. If we take a look at Vega and try to find out what the value of Vega is, because Vega, remember, is an increase or decrease in the premium for a 1% drop in implied volatility. The premium right now for that option is 8 cents. If we take a look at Vega, it's 0.0004. That might not seem like a lot, but implied volatility right now is sky high. So let's say that implied volatility was to drop down to, let's say, 75%. Let's see what kind of decrease that would have. Now, this isn't going to be the true number because Vega is going to change depending on what implied volatility is, but this is going to give us a good example. So we're looking at 335. We're going to go say that's going to go back down to 75%. That's a 260 point drop. Then we're going to times that by Vega, which is 0.004, and that is a 10-cent drop. Now, that would have huge impacts on the option because the option right now is trading at 8 cents. The ask is 9 cents. So looking at an implied volatility drop in SNDL, you could potentially see your position completely wiped out and you wouldn't make any money off of this position if implied volatility was to drop that much. Now that drop might be a little bit too much because, as I said, the calculations will not be perfect, but when you take a look at a stock or an option that has implied volatility this high, you can get an IV crush. That's why being a buyer of call options or put options leading into earnings or major news events is not the smartest thing to do. However, on the flip side, when you see very large implied volatility, that is the perfect time to be a seller of options. You're going to get the most amount of premium for selling options, whether it's options that you already own or if it's covered calls or cash secured puts, being a writer or seller of options when implied volatility is high is a good thing. It's not the best thing to be a buyer when implied volatility is high. All right, let's take a look at an AMD option to explain delta and gamma, and we'll also explain theta through this options chain for AMD, and that's going to wrap up the video. What we're looking at right now are call options on AMD that expire on the 20th of May 2022, so they're 54 days away from expiration. We'll take a look at an option that is in the money. We'll look at that $105 strike. If we take a look at delta, it's 76 cents. The bid right now is $18.75. Notice how delta is higher the deeper in the money you go. The $105 strike has a delta of 76 cents. The $130 strike has a delta of 38 cents. The deeper in the money you are, the higher delta is going to be. The closer to expiration and deep in the money you are, the higher delta is going to be. Essentially, for a $1 increase in the stock right now, you would see a 76-cent increase in the premium. So the premium would go from $18.75 and you would just increase that by another 75 cents. So now you're looking at $19.50 pretty much in that option. That's how delta works with a $1 increase in AMD. On the flip side, if AMD was to drop a dollar, you would subtract 75 cents from the bid price. So it would go from $18.75 to $18. Taking a look at gamma, gamma is going to increase delta with a $1 increase or decrease in the underlying. So if gamma is right now at 1 cent, then your delta is going to be, instead of 75 cents, is going to be 76 cents, or instead of 75 cents, it's going to be 74 cents if the stock was to drop by a dollar. You don't really need to consider gamma too much, but you definitely need to consider delta. Delta is important because delta also corresponds to the likelihood or the probability that your call option or put option is going to end up in the money. So if we take a look at a 75 delta, that's basically a call option that has a 75% chance of expiring in the money and can be exercised. If we take a look at that 130 at that 38 delta, well, that's basically a 38%. This is important because when you're selling call options, you want to be selling call options or covered calls that have a lower delta. It's less likely that they're going to expire in the money and you're going to have to then get rid of those covered calls. Also, when you're selling cash secured puts, you're going to look for put options that have a lower delta as well. So that way, it's not likely that you're going to have to buy 100 shares of that stock. Delta is very important in looking at different options trading strategies to help pick the option that is best suited for the strategy. Now, the next thing that we need to talk about is theta. Now, I want you to take a look at these numbers for this option that also expire on May 20th, 54 days away. Now notice how theta is negative. And notice how they're pretty much kind of close here, right? We're looking at 0.07, 7 cents for in the money versus 0.08, 8 cents for out of the money. Out of the money call options are going to have more theta. But to keep in mind these numbers, if we find an option that is further out in time, let's say January 2024, so 663 days away, and we take a look at theta, it's a lot less. We went from 7, 8 cents to 1 cent. And then if we take a look at an option that is closer to expiration, let's say one that is 12 days away, now theta is much higher. It's 16 cents versus 7 or 8 cents. The closer to expiration you are, the higher theta is going to be. So if you're going to be buying short-term options, you need to consider theta because it's going to have more of an impact. If you're buying long-dated options, ones that won't expire for quite some time, over a year away, then theta isn't really going to eat into your position. And theta is always a decrease. You're never going to see your option premium increase because of theta. So there you have it. Those are your major Greeks. Those are the ones that you need to consider. And depending on what options trading strategy you are using, one Greek might be more important to you than the other. If you're short-term trading, then you definitely need to consider theta. If you're long-term trading, then theta is not as important. If you're selling covered calls or cash secured puts or poor man's covered calls, then you definitely want to consider delta. So definitely consider all of this and use them to your advantage so that you can be a better trader when it comes to options. You can also consider subscribing to the channel, ringing that notification bell so that you are notified when I upload more videos, and you can join the Patreon, which will give you access to a private Discord server of over 500 investors. In this chat room, there's a dedicated channel where we mention all of the stocks and options that we personally buy. Whenever I do anything with my portfolio, I notify people on that private Discord. It is also a community where we learn together, grow together, and make money together. A link to the Patreon is down below in the video description. Outside of that, I thank you so much for your time. It's been real, it's been fun, it's been real fun. And this is We Are Investing, and together we are invincible. See ya.